Hello, good evening and welcome to UPfront. Finally, the dark clouds hanging over the attempts to get rid of all party militia in the country seems to be withering. We know that it's happening because for the first time, the NPP and the NDC, under the moderation of the Peace Council, has met to set out the rules and the ground rules for their engagement in this case. We understand they were to agree to these particular rules, which will set the stage for a meeting coming up soon on the need to get rid of the group that seemed to be the biggest threat to Ghana's democracy, which started sometime around 1992-93. Now, after the break, I'll tell you my guest. He has a very interesting history you should know about. Of course, he knows the insights of the NPP and the NDC too, and I'll tell you more about that later on when we come back from this break. Welcome back. This is UPfront. My name is Raymond Akwa. This evening, the boldest step towards having to disband party militia in tandem with our campaign here to get the system rid of people whose contribution is extremely minimal and yet become a huge threat to the state in varied forms and our democracy as a whole. My guest today is Kakra Essamuah. Now, currently, he's director of the communications of the NDC, and he actually has been in Ghanaian politics for a very long time. Way back in the 60s, if I'm not getting you wrong.
No.
I was say 80s, of course.
80s, yes.
Yes, in the 80s, if I'm not getting you wrong.
Yes,
you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
I hope you are doing well this evening.
I am very well, thank you.
Yes, now, you've not been actively speaking on behalf of the NDC for some time now. You have not been very active, except, of course, for other engagements out there.
It's not by choice.
Oh, really?
I'm needed.
When you are needed,
I am called upon. I do what is necessary.
I see. Yeah. But you were one of those representing the NDC at the meeting, the first meeting.
Yesterday.
You represented, yes. At the first meeting, you set out the modalities for this particular engagement.
That is correct.
Now, I will come to the need to disband party political militia first. But before that, did you feel that was a significant meeting that's going to be the beginning of something very useful?
I think so. I'm generally a very optimistic person and a very hopeful person. Even though one meeting cannot determine everything that will happen afterwards, the first meeting can go very far in determining what I believe is a hopeful future.
The NDC is the one that asked the National Peace Council to be involved.
That is so.
The NDC actually asked for more groupings than the National Peace Council in this particular case.
That is so.
Are you currently, as it exists, excited by what the first meeting's outcome has been?
Yes and no. Yes, because it took place in the first place. No, because we didn't get as much as we would have liked to get from the first meeting. Let me explain very quickly. Right from the beginning, the National Peace Council started going through a draft terms of reference that they themselves had drawn up
together.
And as they went through it, they asked us our views. And on the very first point, we clashed. And it was such a serious clash that it had to be stated in the communique that was issued. What was the point of difference? Whilst the NPP thinks that vigilantism is a party political affair and nothing more, we think that vigilantism goes beyond party political business. That vigilantism can be found in the issues of land guards. It can be found in chieftaincy squabbles. It can be found even in turf war in Galamsey and other areas. So we thought that by meeting in such a meeting, we should be able to resolve all these matters. But the NPP thought otherwise. That's number one. Number two, because we have enlarge the scope, which is a necessary enlargement anyway, we also said that there should be stakeholders.
Others involved.
Yes, because the vigilantism is a security matter. And the first line is the police, for example. When they arrest someone for engaging in vigilante activities, why do they release him or just tap him on the back of his hand? Why did they treat him differently from the way they treat criminals? So the police as an institution should be a stakeholder in this particular dialogue. They did not share that view. At least not, I didn't get that sense yesterday. But whatever it is, we've met. We never know what will happen tomorrow when we meet again. So that is that.
So now, have you finally concluded on the ground rules,
No,
even with disagreements?
No, we didn't. But
You didn't at all?
That was the very first point.
You didn't at all?
No, we didn't. We have concluded in the sense that we have made a certain type of progress. We have met, we are committed to disbanding vigilante groups. But we disagree on the modalities and the scope.
I want to ask this question. Was the disagreement based on ideological understanding of how parties are organized, how structures work in a state, or it was because the various parties in themselves had the thinking that this is the best way to go?
I cannot think or talk for the NPP.
Okay.
I can talk for myself. We know as a matter of experience, for example, that some elements of the vigilante groups that supported the NPP have been absorbed and incorporated into the security services. I didn't get the sense that those on the other side agreed with us on that. So it has nothing to do with ideology per se.
Did this happen during the NDC's time? During, let's say, Professor J.M. Mills's time?
When Professor Mills was in authority, who were the vigilantes that had been absorbed into the national security setup?
Did it happen?
It didn't.
Oh, okay. How about during...
it did not.
From Professor John Mahama's
sometimes
time?
You forget. There's a very, very important matter that all of us have forgotten. And that is that Ayawaso, those who did the shooting, those who caused the injuries, were NPP people. The victims were NDC people.
Were they not national security people? I thought
national
that's
security.
What the current probe
At least you are not,
the committee is
I can
saying.
see that you are not a young man.
Yes, I am not at all.
Look at what, or listen to what Double said at the Commission of Inquiry.
Okay, of course.
The little that you know, yes, the little that you know,
none of that. Yes.
Is he a national security person?
But that's the tag under which he was there.
Never mind. Is he a national security person?
You don't think he is?
What do you think? You're also a voter.
Yes, I know, but posting my opinion is not part of this conversation.
What do you think? You're also a voter.
I get your point, but I'm just trying to say that
if anybody came and
he
said he had only JSS qualifications,
he
hasn't done any job apart from, say, sweeping the streets of Mamubi.
Or selling phones.
No, I don't want to go that far. Or sweeping the streets of Mamubi for, say, the last 5 or 6 years. And that he's been recruited into the police. He's been taught how to shoot guns. And he's now an ASP. What will you think? Wouldn't you think that that is odd?
Yeah, it will sound strange to me.
Yes, and this...
Again, he must have extraordinary skills to be put in that shade.
And this gentleman has been taught how to handle weapons. And that teaching experience was only 3 weeks. And at the event which caused all this furore, he actually, according to him, he went for the gun of a policeman. These are very disturbing and distressing facts. And the earlier all of us sat up and said, let us do something about it. I want the media to take an even more intense interest than they have taken so far.
Really?
This is the time
for
Joy and multimedia to hammer home the need to disband all these illegal groups.
That's why we have the campaign going.
Very well. Please go ahead and continue the fight. The fight doesn't belong to only us. It belongs to all of us as Ghanaians.
Now, it's important to note that these meetings cannot continue forever.
That is so.
At least.
We don't want it to continue forever anyway.
At least there is an immediate deadline in mind that this should happen prior to the year 2020's election.
Yeah, that is a very reasonable expectation. We hope that we are able to meet this particular deadline.
But if you can't agree on modalities?
I think, in spite of my own personal feelings, we are reading too much into a first meeting.
Really?
Yes. It's only a first meeting. Let's see what happens at the next meeting and subsequent meetings.
Now, the Ghanaian people want to know whether, after all of this, the NPP and the NDC can and indeed get rid of some of these militia groups that are affiliated to them.
We have already made that commitment. So, Ghanaians...
I mean, not only in saying, but in the reality of it. Because there's a very notorious, what they call it, perception of politicians saying something else and doing a different thing altogether.
I can understand your fears. I can understand your anxieties. I can understand your apprehensions. But you see, what happened at Ayawaso, let me tell you the seriousness of it. In the past, yes, there was some rough treatment of political opponents. This time, the people who carried out the rough treatment were people in official national security vehicles, 10 of them, wearing uniforms you and I do not recognize anywhere in the security services, and yet under the command of a DSP of the Ghana police. That's number one. Number two, merely saying that, yes, I agree, we will disband Raymond Akwa and his forces, it's not sufficient. Why? Because they are, for now, they are armed.
Yeah.
It is not for nothing that we are asking so many stakeholders to come in. There are a lot of weapons in free hands in this country.
Yeah.
And if you do not take care, I tell the world that yes, my group is A, B, C, D, or whatever. I have asked them to disband. There are others who may not necessarily belong to a political party, who may be free for hire mercenaries, and who have got weapons. What do you do about them?
But that's why you're meeting, right? You're supposed to make sure you get rid of all of those people.
Very well.
In fact, they exist primarily because political parties have used them and have given them the power and have supported them in various forces. So the understanding from our side is that the ordinary Ghanaian citizen want to know that after the meeting, you'll get rid of all of these people.
I will
not just
I
be
want
talk.
you to amend what you are saying. They do not exist primarily for politics alone. I've told you that
Primarily?
they get into
Of
other
course, I mean,
activities.
yes, but those will be their secondary activities. But what would make anybody feel that they are strengthened and they are
you know far more than I do.
Oh, really?
Yes, by saying that that's your secondary activity, you must participate in the dialogue.
No. I clearly, I think that there's been writings on this that indicate that, of course, they may do other things, but primarily, and their source of strength, the fact that he knows when he's arrested today, the only person you call is a politician to get him out of jail or something of that sort, is the main reason why they are bold enough to do what they do. And this is fairly, what they call it, published. So that's what I was making reference to.
Very well.
Now, the other important issues rising out of all of the conversations you'll be having today is the fact that both the NPP and the NDC created a problem the nation is trying to resolve, a problem that nobody wants to go into the next election. The commitment on the side of the parties have been spoken about, and they have dictated so on several grounds. And of course, I mean, more recently, even the president is willing to do so. But regardless of what happens, do you think the president's decision to back his talk with the law is in and of itself a step into the right direction? So we don't leave our destinies in the hands of the political parties.
You see, I don't want to go too much into what the president thinks or thought. I'm only interested in what his actions are. He said what he said because of what happened at Ayawaso. Now, what happened at Ayawaso, fortunately for every Ghanaian who has television and has a radio, we saw videos of what happened. Mm-hmm. On the basis of that alone, the police can make arrests and start prosecutions. Okay. As I speak to you right now, who has been arrested?
None.
Who has been prosecuted?
Should they go alongside their commission's work?
No, these are just normal questions ordinary people should be asking. Mm-hmm. Because a commission of inquiry does not punish. It only makes recommendations. Mm-hmm. We had a principal opposition to the commission of inquiry. But let's put that aside for the meantime. Yeah. Looking at the videos, listening to the radio, what you saw, don't you think that someone ought to have been paying the price as at now?
Are they still not investigating?
Well, you will know. You are in the media.
Because we understand that that's what they said we're doing.
How long does it take to investigate the person who assaulted the Honorable Sam George?
I'm not a policeman. I
agree. He actually appeared at the commission.
Yeah.
And amazingly, he was made to apologize to the people of Ghana. Is that what happens when crimes are committed in this country?
Do you have a difficulty with that?
A lot. Let him go to court. Let the court deal with him. Let the court ask him, do you have to say anything mitigation? I'm a lawyer, so I know. Mm-hmm. And then he apologizes or he pleads for mercy. And they just says, oh, because of what you have said, I'll consider. Instead of giving you 2 weeks in jail, I'll give you just 1 day.
But the act before the commission, it doesn't prevent any state institution from carrying out their duties.
Which state institution is that?
In this case, the police.
And who controls the police?
As in who controls the police? The police are the police council.
The police is not an independent institution. I don't know of any police force anywhere in the world which is independent.
And you're saying that because it's under the Ministry of Interior,
if they would do something, they should have done it by now. When the policemen assaulted the Ghanaian Times journalist, where are they right now?
They say they have been interdicted.
When the driver and his mate assaulted the policeman, what happened to them?
The people have been put before court, as we know.
So what is delaying this one? Tell me, I mean, fortunately both of us are voters. What is delaying this one? Are we not entitled to ask for accountability? What is delaying it?
We can ask the police that again.
No, I don't need to ask the police. You see, not too long ago, there was some, I don't know what I can call it. I don't know how to put it, but some people are saying that the command structure, the security services, and the police, etc., should be changed so that they will act a little bit more independently of political authority. And I'm not speaking on behalf of my party per se. Now, I'm making a personal contribution to the debate, that public debate. I do not think that that is possible. Because people who bear arms ought to be accountable to those who have been elected. Yes, the police bear arms. And if you may be a young man, but the first coup
that... You have downgraded me. I mean, we agree that I'm not...
The first coup that occurred in this country, successful coup, 1966, it was actually planned by 2 policemen.
I really understand, so.
And you say the police should be independent? What point am I trying to make? People control the police. Who are they? Elected officials. If you elect the right person, the right orders will be given to the police.
It is on the basis that you cannot trust politicians to do what is right when political power is at stake. And the tendency to abuse their power is there when you give them more powers. If you make the police fairly independent of political power, what you do is that you insulate it from control.
I understand you. I know where you are going. How will you take it if I said that all journalists were corrupt?
I mean, you can't say that.
You say I can't say that?
Yes, it will be hasty generalization.
What did you just say about politicians?
I mean, it is believed. That's what I said.
Hold on. What did you just say about politicians?
No, I just said that it is believed.
No, you see, a lot of us who have the opportunity to speak behind microphones, sometimes we make generalizations without looking at the real facts. Who said that Nana Akufo-Addo and John Mahama are the same? And that they will deal with the police the same way? Or that if a crime is committed and you and I see it on the television, John Mahama will behave the same way as Nana Akufo-Addo behaves? We are not all the same.
Yes,
it is wrong for people to conflate the sins of Akufo-Addo with every other politician.
Of some politicians and other politicians.
Yes. Be specific. This particular person did that. And then we hold him to account. But if you say that all politicians, what are you talking about? That I will behave the same way as... I don't want to mention names.
Don't mention the names in this case. But there's a question that matters in this discussion. If we know the history of this particular phenomenon, we can deal with it properly. Some have traced it back to the Nkrumah era. Others have actually said that, well, it was post-Nkrumah era. Some even just situated just within the period when former President Rawlings was in charge of the state, and say that there is that history that ought to be dealt with when we are properly situating currently party militia groups in the country. Do you think so?
Do you know something?
Yeah.
This question that you have asked me, it appears relevant to you, even if not to your listeners. It's a variant of the one I've just answered.
Really?
If something happened in the 1950s, if something happened in the 1960s, if something happened in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the first 10 years of the 2000s, don't we learn lessons from them? Hold on, please. Hold on. Don't we learn lessons from them?
We should.
Why are you citing them to justify the president?
I'm not citing them. I'm saying that some people have said that there's history to this particular conduct. Are you mindful of your experience?
Never mind.
Aware of this history?
Never mind.
And can you tell me about the history?
Fortunately for you and I, my first degree is actually in history. Now, do you know of anybody in history, a personality like Double in history, who behaved the same way as Double did January 31st, 2019, in a by-election? Mention his name.
I can't recall. I have
then
not
don't
gotten
say the things you're saying. When you have information, let's share it.
No, I am
don't repeat the things people say simply because they are saying it.
I'm trying to ask you a question.
Very well.
I'm trying to ask you to give me some form of outline of history that suggests that
I am not interested in the history.
But there is there you agree there is history on that, right?
I'm not interested in the history that only seeks to reduce the responsibility of me and you in the present age.
Is that what it does?
And that is exactly what you are doing.
Really?
Because all you are saying is that, look, if Jerry Rawlings did something similar in 1985, we shouldn't be surprised that Nene Akufo-Addo is doing the same thing in 2019.
I'm not going that way.
That is the understanding I'm having.
No, okay, so let me rephrase in a way
Very well.
I am asking you, mindful of your experience in the Ghanaian political terrain.
Very well.
To, if you are in the position to do so, give me some historical background to all of this happening today.
I don't need to.
So that,
and I'll tell you why I don't need to.
So that a younger generation may learn from that, so that people would appreciate where we have come from in dealing with these groups, so that at least, if for nothing at all, we put it in historical context.
I'll give you the historical background.
Yes.
From the commencement of the Fourth Republic.
Okay, no problem.
Jerry Rawlings did the first 8 years of the First Republic.
Yeah.
In opposition were Professor Dubois,
yeah,
and then J. Kufuor, who later also became president. There was not a single occasion that they were bullied, intimidated by NDC forces, that they said that they will raise an army of their own to combat the police. Not once. You may not have been old enough to do that. Let's come to President Kufuor. When he was president, there was not a single occasion that I heard Professor Mills, who was then the leader of the opposition, say that I'm going to raise up an army because the people, the NPP supporters and NPP is using the security services to intimidate NDC people. Not once did you ever hear that, did you?
I didn't hear that.
Very well. But when Professor Mills became president, do you remember what President Akufo-Addo said at Osu, May 2009? That his people were being intimidated. They were being bullied by the police and supporters of the NDC. And that when they get to a certain point, he will have to raise people and probably an army to confront what was.
Is that what was it? His exact words?
Give me a moment. I'll locate it.
Or he said that please, the hawks in his party.
Very well.
Yes, but that's different from saying
I haven't finished.
I raised an army, actually.
You want a historical analysis?
Yes.
I have not finished. He was the same person who said, "You're not comfortable." I'm sure you heard that one. Okay. People say that as we that clans, we are soft. But our ancestors who formed this party were not soft at all. I'm sure you heard all of that.
Yeah,
he said, all die be die. Please, I have not finished.
No, not too long. No, forgive me, but I'm just wondering.
You said I should give you a historical background. I'm doing so.
Of vigilante groups in the country. What you are just telling me.
I have not finished.
So you get to that point for me.
I'm getting there.
I see.
You recall that some 2 Serbians or South Africans were brought in to train the vigilante groups of the NPP, and they were deported. Do you remember?
Yes, they said they were brought in to train security of
for what?
Security of the party, like
for what? You see, when somebody in the party like me,
yeah,
I'm the director of communications. I say I want security. Why would I want security?
For your candidate, for your very good self.
For my candidate,
yes.
You can easily tell the police.
Yes, but if you don't trust the kind of people that.
Why don't you trust the police? Now they are using the police. Why don't you trust the police? Why should I open my mouth and say that I don't trust Raymond Akwa? Why?
But the history of this particular
history? I've given you the history that you wanted to hear.
But no, that's not the history I wanted to hear.
What is,
I wanted you to be able to tell me. No, I wanted you to be able to tell me the people who were deemed to be vigilante groups within the periods that you mentioned. All that you ended up telling me is pronouncement by people that suggested that they didn't trust the system to protect them whenever they had to do so. And I did not see them being the same though. But I've heard your point on that. If you have concluded, can I ask you a different question?
Why not? Go ahead.
Okay. Now, the thinking in this case is that you, the people who are in charge of the state, better be in opposition, or as in there's a political class in the country. A political class that is increasingly moving away from debates, that's increasingly moving away from the Georgia, that is increasingly deploying more violence in these activities than engaging on the things that they were voted to do. You believe that?
Should I give you a little history?
Not that one that suggests that. That only, not a side.
Should I give you a little history?
No, I'm not saying that.
No, because we are living in times that call for you and I to have this particular conversation.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Not too long ago, if you recall, since 1992, the IEA had been organizing debates.
Yeah.
For the presidential candidates, sometimes even for the vice presidential candidates. In the year 2016, that is the last one that we had, it was organized by the GBC, because the reason why the IEA was organizing these debates was because GBC didn't have sufficient funds to fund that particular operation. But in 2015, we started collecting the TV license fees. So they couldn't use that excuse anymore. So they found appropriate funds and organized it.
They also did their own, actually.
Well, whatever. President Akufo-Addo, as candidate then, boycotted the GBC one. And he said he thought that the GBC was biased. Now, you see, I am saying what I'm saying.
Is this new? I mean, please, did the NPP went to court because of the actions of the GBC? And it's not unknown to the history of this country.
I'm coming.
Okay.
President Akufo-Addo, at the time in 2016, had been a lawyer for 45 years. When you go to court, is the judge on your side before you start arguing your case?
We expect an impartial judge, isn't it?
Yes. Sometimes, right from the beginning, the judge is hostile to you. I've done a case like that. In the end, I won. Right from the beginning. But your duty is to employ your forensic skills to persuade the judge to see the case the way you see it, so that you win favor with him. Who in GBC was against President Akufo-Addo?
I mean,
I'm answering your question. I'm not finished.
Yeah.
I'm answering your question. At that point, he abandoned debate. You probably didn't notice it. At that point, he had abandoned debate. Because in our history, the only time when a presidential candidate abandons that particular debate is when the presidential candidate is an incumbent.
Yes, I mean, there's several examples to suggest that, yeah.
When he's an incumbent, then they are afraid of, you see, because if I'm an incumbent, I'll come and face about 4 or 5 people who want to take my seat.
Okay.
So I'm afraid that's understandable. You understand? They give all sorts of reasons and they escape. He was not an incumbent. That's one aspect of it. Number 2, that's why I say that when you say all politicians, I get worried. Unfortunately, despite their history, the NPP tends to be a little bit more sensitive to criticism than all other parties.
The evidence to support same is?
The evidence to support same.
Yeah. But you have made a claim. I mean, of course, if I want you to be able to provide evidence support that the NPP is more sensitive to criticism.
I won't. At the appropriate time, I will.
Really?
Yes.
No, because you can't just make the claim in this particular case. But let me bring in this. The point I sought to raise with you is that there are people who are very worried about how, instead of discussing policies, instead of making the entire state's engagement be about what are the alternatives available, what are the directions that we ought to go. Why 50 years ago, South Korea was at the same level like us or even below us, and now they are way higher than that, per capita income, and all of the major, what they call it, statistics that will be interesting to you. Instead of having those discussions predominating our conversations in the state, it looks like we have virtually brought the political conversations to levels that are not really evolved.
Unfortunately, you are actually blaming yourself as a media. Because if I come here and I say something that you don't want people to be talking about, you can stop me. Yeah. You do it all the time. So why do you give platform to people to come and do that to the people of Ghana?
But I don't control all media houses in the country. No, I don't control all shows.
No, you are a very huge media empire.
No, it doesn't mean that we control every single space.
I agree, but I am just telling you that if that is actually happening,
you don't think it's happening.
Hold on, please. You cannot. The media cannot escape blame. because you are talking about the conversation that we should be having about development and progress.
Yeah.
And that conversation is held in a particular space, the media space. The media cannot escape blame. Probably the media is not sufficiently critical in the ways that they ought to be critical.
Really?
Yes. That is why instead of we talking about this glass, we are talking about, say, your coat, which is not really important.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, if you are sufficiently critical the way you ought to be. Let me give you a typical observation. Have you observed that this year alone, and we are in April, we are now getting to the middle of April.
Yeah.
This year alone, we have had the State of the Nation address. We have had the Minister for Finance come to Parliament and give virtually a second budget and praise himself. And then we have had a town hall meeting by the Vice President. It's never happened before.
Is there a problem with that?
There's no problem.
Yeah, but
It just tells you
people,
that
the government is engaging more. The government is opening up to the people in varied ways. The government is speaking to the people that elected it and being accountable to it.
It tells you that those who are holding them to account are doing their work well.
Yes, I mean, those in the media, that's what they have to account.
Yeah. Now you are bringing yourself.
No, but
now
what
else
else would you have expected?
I'm not going to.
You are not going to say no?
How will I say no?
Yes, brilliant. So those in the media is
no,
not
you are doing your work. I'm
Yes.
not going to blame you at all. I mean, I'm not going to accuse you or anything. You are doing your work. Those of us too in the minority, we're also doing our work.
I see.
And we are putting them on their toes.
No, because you have a lot of experience in Ghanaian politics. If I'm speaking to you, I approach you from the perspective that you are in the position to do a much better comparative analysis of where we sought to go and where we are today. That's why I asked you whether or not we have actually declined in the quality of the conversations that we have.
I don't want to blame those in the past because you see, my father is dead. How do I accuse him of, say, not taking me to Achimota? And he took me to Koboduma secondary school. Okay. I must make the best use of the opportunities I have today. You understand? I cannot blame those in the past.
Yeah.
I can only talk about the present. One of the things that you and I are not prepared to admit is that our revenue envelope in this country is very small indeed.
That's true.
Looking at the things that you and I have to do in order to improve the lives of the people of this country, our revenue envelope is very, very small.
That's true.
What we need to do in education, what we need to do in terms of infrastructure, they demand lots and lots of money. Now we have a lot of skill sets in this country. We even export some, not in the sense that we get money from exporting them, but they go elsewhere and they do very well. You understand what I'm saying? But infrastructure and doing rare business of politics, economics, etc., all these things demand money. We don't have it. That is why we keep on borrowing.
Which is true. I mean,
we keep on borrowing.
Yeah.
I only wish that all of us will use the money that we borrow well enough to improve the lives of all of us. And then you and I, when we come, we would rather be drinking tea than quarreling over vigilantes. That shouldn't be part of our conversation.
It's just true. I get it.
Yes.
That's why I was asking whether the quality of the conversations, all the engagements have declined over the period. Now, let me ask you another question linked to this. The current conversations are supposed to help fix the problem.
Yes.
Do you think that, from where you sit, all the things that have brought up this conversation to where it is today, we can reach the point where we say never again, and the phenomenon of vigilante groups and whichever names you put to it will be a thing of the past?
Yes, we can.
We can.
I am speaking on behalf of the NDC. The NDC is sufficiently committed to it, to the disbandment, disarming of these people. And I'm able to say with confidence that yes, we can.
I'll take a break. When I return from this break, we'll continue our conversation. But I want to hear your own ways and your own suggestions on how best we can deal with this problem permanently.
Very well.
This is UPfront. We'll be back after this break. You welcome back. This is UPfront. My name is Raymond Alcom. My guest today is a man who has been in Ghanaian political scene for a very long time. And to be clear, he's been a member of the NPP before, and he's now Director of Communications of the NDC. Kakra Essamuah is also a lawyer, so you should probably know some reference to law in this particular conversation along the line. Now, we are looking at one phenomenon, and he's important here because he was part of the team that first met the Peace Council and the NPP yesterday in that conversation on the way forward to deal with this party vigilantism party militia issue that has been very thorny in this country. Now, we're seeking to find out from him how best to deal with the problem. What is the commitment, at least on the side, to make sure that this issue is dealt with once and for all? And whether or not there's going to be a public position and a private position on this matter. So publicly we oppose to it. Privately we still utilize them. Is that going to be the ways this will be dealt with? Those are the questions we're finding out from those who are on the table today, seeking among other things to put an end to this particular phenomenon. You're welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I was asking, before we went on break, I told you that we'll be talking about what you see to be the way forward when we really legitimately and with all the sincerity that political parties can gather in this country deal with this phenomenon once and for all.
The most important thing that all of us must do, and I've said it here a couple of times, the NPP too says it, but I'll tell you why ours is different. It's a commitment to rid this country of violence in politics, violence in all its forms. Why do I say that we have a little bit more serious approach to this than the NPP? I'll demonstrate. Just before our presidential primaries, you remember there was an incident in Kumasi where someone shot one of our supporters at our party headquarters in Kumasi. That victim was an NDC person. Within an hour or so after that incident, the police announced that it was a battle between two factions of our vigilante group called the Hawks. I'm sure you remember all those details.
Yes, the police gave that much detail.
Very well. And they actually announced the names of those who were responsible for that incident. Raymond, as I speak to you today, not a single one of the people who were involved in that particular incident has been arrested. We have our own suspicions about what actually happened, but I'm not going to share it with you on this platform today.
But if you say so, that it means that you don't think that
today,
but no,
as at today,
the police actually arrested people.
They have not arrested the one who fired the gun.
Yes, no, not the one who fired the gun, but they arrested people they thought were connected to this incident.
But you recall also that soon after the occurrence of the incident, our General Secretary made it plain that he was not going to interfere in the investigations by the police.
Yes, I heard that
the police will have to go all out and find out those who were responsible for what happened in Kumasi. Yeah. You recall all that?
Yes, I
That's number one. Number two, when we were getting into our presidential primaries, we announced that we are not going to entertain the activities of any vigilante groups who are allegedly coming to provide security for the presidential primaries. I'm sure you recall that one.
That's true.
Very well. And the police handled everything.
Yes.
It was more than mere commitment. We showed by action that we believed and earnestly hoped that everybody would see that we believed that violence ought not to be part of our democratic culture.
But it's true, and I have heard the General Secretary consistently repeat this. Yes. I also heard the National Chairman repeat some of these too.
Yes.
But right before me and in your seat, the National Youth Organizer of the party have been clear in his mind for dealing with what they call the vigilante groups. He believes they should be supported, they should be encouraged, and the party is going to form more. The same words.
Did he say that before or after Ayawaso?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, this was no. The youth organizer's one was after Ayawaso. Again, it was, I think, immediately after Ayawaso. It was the national organizer who said it after the party had done their national, what they call it, executive elections in this case. I mean,
this is last year. So that's before Ayawaso.
Yes, I'm saying that the national organizer's one was before Ayawaso. The youth organizer's was immediately after Ayawaso when I spoke to him.
Sometimes you people spoil the conversation. Shall I explain what I mean?
No.
I'll explain.
No. I'm saying categorically that
I'm not saying that. I'm not denying what you
say.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to believe that you tell me a lie. Why will you do that for?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that sometimes you people spoil the conversation, and I will explain to you what I mean. After the president has made the call in the State of the Nation address, we waited for 1 week. If you recall, he said next week I'll call them.
In a week.
Nothing happened. So that is the chairman of my party, wrote a letter. And in fact, it is from that correspondence between the chairman of my party and the NPP and the president in particular that has actually brought us this far. In those letters, the chairman of my party made certain statements. Why am I saying what I'm saying? What the chairman of my party says ought to be given more weight by the media than what anybody below him says.
I get your point.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get your point. So that means that the commitment should spread to every other person.
Yes. If the president of Ghana,
including Joseph Yamin, of course,
including everybody who is a member of the party.
But should it not also be the case that the party will call to other people who disagree, I mean, not even disagree, openly oppose such directions by the party?
Are you talking about the NDC?
Yes, I'm talking about the NDC.
NDC?
Yes.
Why not question those who are already in government?
No, I'm saying, but this conversation was about the NDC. You chose to take the path first, and I'm dealing with that particular matter. And I'm saying that first and foremost.
No.
Shouldn't
you have heard,
yes,
that somebody in the NDC has openly defied what the chairman has said.
Joseph Yamin stated categorically,
yes,
that he will continue to support party groups. In fact, he doesn't even believe that the Hawk is a vigilante or a militia group in the first place. So to him, the calls for the disbandment of a group like that will not happen.
Yes.
Of course, I mean, he admits they are affiliated to him.
Yes.
Is that not open defiance of
I thought we were talking about one individual, not the party.
No, I'm saying that when an individual like that
very well, then I can't comment on that. You are dealing with an individual. If you are is the party, talk about it. I can comment.
An individual is a stalwart in your party.
Do you know the individuals who have made comments that I may call irresponsible in other parties and nothing has happened?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the level of commitment can also be dictated by how you as a party is willing to say that, no, we can't allow you to virtually disobey directives for the party and act on your own and cause public disaffection for us.
I've already given you an answer. I don't think I have to give you any further comment. Yeah,
because I'm expecting you to say that this party is interested in reigning in all people, including Joseph Yamin.
I will not go that far. You know why? Because we are not in power. If Joseph Yamin did something today, which is illegal, the police can and will arrest him.
No, but we're not talking about
hold on, please. Sometimes people talk as if you pay your taxes to John Mahama or
what is conversation started with the
or Samuel Ufuzampofo.
No, this conversation started with
if you think that something illegal is happening and we are condoning it, please report
I cannot say anything close to that.
Please report to the police.
I'm expecting that
yes,
the party that's bold and clearly dictating that this is our commitment will be in the position to say,
let me tell you,
a member of the party,
let me tell you
cannot
let me tell you something. Not too long ago, there was a radio presenter on XYZ who said that he had a vision that people wanted to kill your colleague Manasseh Azure.
Yeah,
you know he had been charged.
Yes, I was told so.
When Osu Bempa went to Kennedy Japan's radio station, what do you call it?
Oman FM.
Oman FM, and said that ex-president John Mahama was conspiring with other people to go and kill Akufo-Addo. What has happened to him?
I mean, you mean the Reverend Osu Bempa?
Yes. What has happened to him?
I'm not sure anything has happened to him.
Those are the questions you have to ask.
No, but
because you see, listen.
But if anybody tells solutions of your own,
I'll come to that.
Yes.
If anybody says that he will kill President Akufo-Addo, that person is not merely assassinating our president. Under the terms of our constitution, he's committing treason.
That's true.
Nothing has happened to the person who made that allegation.
I thought you had been invited by the police. The police,
wouldn't you have heard about it?
No, we were told by the police he's been invited.
Have you followed up? But let me come to the more important issue that you have raised.
Yes.
What are we doing about how do we see the resolution of this
finally put it to rest completely?
Well. We welcomed the invitation to the dialogue. What is on our mind? First of all, there are one or two things that we set out in our letters. There are stakeholders, people who are affected by vigilantism, people who profit from it. Those people ought to be at the table with us. There must be a moderator. We nominated one, the National Peace Council. In addition to the moderator, there must be facilitators. I will explain presently what I mean. And those facilitators are the people who bridge our differences. For example, yesterday there was an issue about party political vigilantism and then political vigilantism.
Yeah, you mentioned
if there had been a facilitator, we wouldn't probably have issued that communique. You will have been able to bring us to a point where we can agree. Unfortunately, I'm not too sure that the National Peace Council has that type of capacity. You understand? That is why we said We needed facilitators.
So now Dr. SKB Asante's role, what was it about?
They say their role as a mediating role, alternative dispute resolution.
How does that differ from a facilitating role?
I've just told you, the facilitators actually will take you aside, will take me aside and say, look, you say you want blue. They say they want white. Both of you are wrong. Let us all go for yellow. And we'll make sure he persuades you to accept yellow. He persuades me to accept yellow. We come back and say, oh, yellow is it.
Was that the role you envisioned for the National Peace Council?
Not necessarily. The National Peace Council is the big man sitting at the back. Go do this, come report to us, and then we all agree. You understand? So that's one aspect of it. What exactly ought to be done? We think that those people should be disarmed and demobilized. If it's possible to find employment for them, we should do so. I see. It is an expensive business, I agree. But they were taking us down a road that was even more expensive. You understand? I get you. We also were, let me look at my paper. We also were of the opinion that in order to properly ensure that these people are demobilized and they are disarmed, and even more importantly, in order to ensure that those who we think or know have been absorbed into the security services are all removed, we must have what we call a joint verification committee.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yes. Who determined that Raymond Akwa is a vigilante? He has been absorbed into the Nima police. Now, if you come to...
And they have to go through the entire security setup?
Yes. We are ready for that.
That's a very long haul.
Yes. If you go there and you see that Raymond Akwa actually qualifies to be in the police, even though we suspect he's a vigilante, there's nothing we can do. You have to remain there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand.
But if we find out that Raymond Akwa is otherwise not qualified, we'll have to let you get out of the security services, because they pose a real danger to the peace and stability of this country for the future, especially the 2020 elections. What happened at Ayawaso was an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener, and I am happy that you people are championing the cause for the disbandment of political militias in this country.
Now, this sounds like a good idea. At least we are not only going to say that we are going to get rid of them, but also make sure that they are indeed removed from the places that they are dangerous to our system.
Yes.
Is this something that you suspect those on the other side will agree?
I don't have to suspect.
Yeah.
You see, they have to agree, because it's, you see, these things that you are talking about now is double. Yeah. Who is apparently doing things to we the NDC people. Yeah. In the end, people are that they consume their own. Yeah, it's possible. I don't know if you understand what that is. Yes. The complaints against the complaints by the people are there now, even monitoring and evaluation minister in this constitution, the claim was that vigilante people you remember, yes, had to make you run away. This is Minister of State. Consume their own. I don't want to die because I'm doing politics. Do you want me to die? Oh, no, not at all. Thank you very much. There are times that we have to disagree. Yeah. That is the very nature of life. Yeah. But disagreements shouldn't take us that far. That's true. Yes, and that is why we are saying that we are truly and well committed to the disbandment of these vigilante groups. Is it easier to say this and do it when you're in opposition? Is it easier to do that? You see, we could easily have said what Nene Akufo-Addo said in May 2009. That you've said that before, of course. No, we didn't say that. I'm saying that you have said this here before. Yes, we could easily have said it. What is wrong with saying this? No, I'm saying that because you have made the point before. You have made the point before. Yes. So, but we choose not to do it because doesn't look like there's a lot of what they call it burden on you, because the real security of the state is by those on the other side. That is so. You understand what I'm trying to say? So. The responsibility to protect all of us, including those of you in the NDC, is by those on the other side. So. So you can sit back and say, what? We need to clean them up, make sure the system is clearly well cleaned. Yes. 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 But when you have the responsibility on the other side, assuming the NDC were in power today, would this have been the same stand you would take? If NDC had been in power today, 10th April 2019, Ayawaso would never have happened. I see.
There's a lot of by-elections that happened during the NDC's time.
Yes, but never.
We recall the Etiwas of this time. We recall it. All of the happenings across the country.
If you want my personal view of what is happening or what has happened, you have, say it, Etiwa, and then what?
Yeah, there are so many examples.
And what? Talensi?
Yes.
And then what?
Tripone. There are so many examples in those areas.
If
in fact, up to today, under the NDC, somebody shot there several times.
Please.
The man was very
shot in the air.
Yes.
Do you know who they went to 37 and interviewed the proceedings? What had happened to him?
That he was shot in the leg.
Somebody, but that's, I'm not interested in those mechanics.
That means you're just.
Are you listening?
Yes.
Please. Etiwa, Chireponi, all the things that you have said. If the NPP and its leadership honestly believed that those things were bad and that they profane our politics, Ayawaso would never have happened.
Maybe it's payback time.
Payback?
Yeah.
Is that what you think, or that you are just suggesting?
I've heard some people say that one of the reasons why that happened.
Do you think that President Akufo-Addo believes that?
I can't think for him.
So please, I don't want to go that far.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't want to. Don't say that. Don't repeat it anywhere.
You've not heard people say that.
He is the chief executive of this country. And if that is what he thinks, then you and I are doomed.
No, but I'm not saying. Why are you saying that that's what he thinks?
No.
I'm saying that some people believe that
when you say
payback.
When you say payback time.
Yes, because of the actions of talent. Because of the many happenings.
Never mind. If you say that is payback time.
Yeah.
Then it means they are justified in doing what they did.
No, I cannot say though.
Who is the commander-in-chief of the forces in Ghana?
We know it's the president of the Republic of Ghana.
And on whose authority do they act?
I want to believe that it's the president.
It's not you want to believe. That's what the Constitution says, Article 58. Every public officer in this country acts on the authority of the president, including even teachers in the classroom.
That's true.
And so when you say it's payback time, it is the president's name that you are besmirching. Are you ready for that?
How is that possible? That when I say, some people say it's payback time, it becomes the president's own name. That is.
But it is.
I did not say that the president said it's payback time.
The people who did the shooting.
But I know you understand what I mean. To be fair, I know you understand what I mean. What I'm trying to say in this particular case is that they have given some reason for it, and this reason is because of what happened in times past. What happened that was not adequately interrogated. What happened that was not proved to the commission. What happened that did not have.
I've already answered. I've told you that if the NPP honestly believe that what happened in Tame, what happened in Chirepone, what happened in Etiwa was bad enough, and that they ought not to happen again, Ayawaso would never have happened.
I need to conclude this conversation.
Very
finally, well. What will prevent the NDC from sitting through and finally coming to an agreement? What will be the breaking point? What proposal, what direction would the NDC say, no, we can never go in this way, so this conversation is over?
No, you don't have a red line.
You don't have a red line?
No, you don't have red lines.
Not at all?
No, we don't have red lines. Let's go on. I mean, we haven't said anything. We haven't done anything to indicate that they are not committed to it. If we reach that point, we'll cross the bridge.
I'm pleased to have you here. I'm sure we should do more of this in the near future. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, folks, that's where we end today's edition of UPfront. My guest is part of the team the NDC put up on the table, and hopefully in the near future will be part of the conversations about disbanding party militia in the country. As we know, yesterday was the very first meeting. Thank you so much for watching.